Hello, everyone. Hello, sarcastic Star Trek. I hope you're very well this evening. If you guys can hear me, let me know in the chat. The volume should be okay, but as always, I normally have some technical problems, so I hope you're well this evening. Anyone know any tangible benefits of Brexit? They'll lift me out of with 3 kids and a household income of 80,000. I can't see any. No, I can't see any either. Hello everyone, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well. It's Friday evening and another live stream with myself. My ears. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll move a little bit away from the microphone. Who can hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. You're 30 seconds back. Okay. So everyone hear about the airport thing? That was just a delay for the other reasons, not a good idea to focus on. It's just serves the tribalism. I think it was a bit of a laugh though in the gloom. I think it was interesting how someone had said, yeah, look, this isn't the Brexit I voted for. My volume is okay. Good. So, did any of you do anything interesting for Valentine's Day? My poor wife is feeling under the weather, so we didn't go out. But I cooked some food for her, so she was quite happy with that. But he still said it was not the Brexit he voted for. Yes. Can anyone explain why the IMF has predicted the UK economy will grow faster than the EU since Johnson's election? Angry Kulla, I haven't seen that. Of course, you have to remember that the UK economy at the moment is still, in a way, aligned with the European Union. So we're not going to really see the real impact of Brexit until next year. And when the laws and the situation changes, it's still going to take a while for the real impact to be felt. Even if the delay was the other reason, how stupid you have to be to think that Brexit will mean less obstacles, of course, yes. Christoph, I agree 100%. Ed H, wife asleep and I'm listening to you. Well, don't abandon your loved ones to listen to me, okay? Especially as today is Valentine's Day, so I don't want anyone getting into trouble because of me. I went to see friends in Birmingham and we only spoke about Brexit twice. That's good. So we're moving away from the horrid B word. And Brexit reminds me of how the government in the film V for Vendetta started. Yes. I hope it's not going to turn out like that. Watched Pornhub, played a few games, got pissed and lolled at the men pretending to enjoy Valentine's Day. Ian McKenna. Osborne said the economy would crash instantly. I don't remember him saying it would crash instantly, but a no deal would definitely be extremely bad for the economy. And you'd see tailbacks at Dover and other ports. So you'd see the impact immediately. That would be under a no deal, of course. I'm not happy with come and see me to take over the entire cabinet. Yes. So what was it with Brexiteers saying that they wanted more democracy, they wanted more control, and now Boris Johnson has handed the reins over to an unelected bureaucrat. Like, he's not even a bureaucrat, he's just an advisor. um, you know, handing everything over to him. I thought it was about taking back control or having democracy. You know, the Brexiteers are quite quiet at the moment about that. Glenn B, hi. Glasgow Kiss, hello again. Great to see you again on the stream. Hope you're very well. I maybe I'm considering putting you as one of the moderators on the channel. So, I got a lot of responses for that. So I need to go through it a bit carefully and just I'll reach out to you guys and I'll make a few maybe something like 4 or 5 moderators. So just to keep an eye on the trolls and the Brexiteers. Good that Sajid Javed has quit. I mean, good, but also, fishy. So I don't know if you've seen my video about Sajid. Hi, lol. Where I said that, one of the reasons I think he resigned was because of he didn't want to be blamed for Brexit and the damage Brexit is going to cause to the UK. But of course, he wanted his own power, and I think he saw Dominic Cummings as a threat. And Dominic Cummings, of course, is a huge threat to anyone who wants any sort of power in the Conservative Party. It's ironic how someone who isn't even a member has more power than even the Prime Minister, it seems. LBC chat is ridiculous, yes. So what do you guys think of, so I just keeping it light tonight, what do you guys think of the situation where you had the guy punching the seat of the lady who was sitting in front of him on the airplane? I think it was somewhere in the US. I haven't actually I've seen the video, but I haven't heard the audio. I don't know if there's any audio with the video. But what do you think about that? Have you ever experienced something like that yourself? Did Britain become a laughing stock? From my point of view, it really exposed how weak the UK is. About Brexit, Donatas, or about the guy queuing at the airport? Is Brexit basically an attempt by rich owners to override workers' rights? Yes, it is, Ian. Workers' rights, environmental protections, taxation, a lot of different things. Sarcastic Star Trek, I recommend you if you have another page open, search on, you find it on Twitter for sure, but you can probably find it also on YouTube. It's about a 3-minute video of a guy punching the back of a seat where there's a woman sitting on the seat. So his seat can't recline, but the woman who's sitting in front of him reclines her seat beyond the limit, and he gets pretty angry about it. What do you think of Mogg saying the concentration camps during the Boer War were okay, where 28,000 women and children died of disease? I wasn't familiar with that, Lenny Harry, but that's disgusting. So. Do a video with Brother Neuro. He's got your views. Okay, I'll write down that name. Brother Neuro. Okay, I'll check that out. So, just about this flight thing. I recently travelled back to Ireland with Ryanair, and it's terrible. I didn't want to I was only going over for a few days, so my wife and I would just book the cheapest flight possible, and which turned out to be really cheap. It wasn't near where we live, but we had to travel a little bit by car, but it turned out really cheap. And but the leg room was just terrible. It was, I'm not tall, so I'm about 1 meter 72, so I'm about average height. But if I was taller, it would have been horrible. But the leg room was just terrible. And but last year I travelled to Belfast with EasyJet from here in Italy, and it was much better experience. Still small space, like narrow space, but a much better experience than Ryanair. And I think there's this idea, just pack in as many people as possible. So, am I right in thinking you're an Italian living in France with an Irish accent? No. So I'm an Irishman living in Italy with maybe a French accent. No. Some people have said I have a bit of a German accent. Others have said that I have a weird Irish accent. I was told I had a colonial accent by an American guy once, whatever that means. I don't think of Mog at all, if possible. No, neither do I. So he has been put back in his place as the head of head of Parliament. Is that Jacob Rees-Mogg's position? Leader of the Parliament or something like that. I don't know what the laughing stock. Okay, the Brexit voter today complained. Yeah. Ian Lewis, is there anything we need to believe in more? You have a soothing accent. Thank you very much. You're not wrong there. I go via Ryanair from Ireland to Spain, and it was just as you described. I know somebody had joked some years ago that Ryanair would probably like to have, those loops that hang from the ceiling on a public bus where you stand. I think Ryanair would love to be able to do that. Just pack in as 5 times as many people as possible as there are now. And many people would probably take the chance, if the flight was cheap enough. It's not, traveling to Ireland from here isn't too bad. It's about 2 hours, 45 minutes. And I don't sleep. It's just too uncomfortable to sleep, but I try to read a book or something just to pass the time. But if anyone has the chance, EasyJet is a lot better. It's not, luxurious, but it's better. He's the leader of the house. Thanks. Got the answer just now. Thanks. The enemy of the EU. Bernie is the Democratic frontrunner now. Yes, he is. So he did very well in New Hampshire, and he did quite well in Iowa. So he's steaming ahead, and it's looking likely. I didn't do a video on it, but my prediction would be that it will probably end up with Bernie versus Bloomberg. And I've seen on Twitter a lot of people coming out in support of Bloomberg. Even the Black Caucus in Alabama, I think it was, came out in support of Michael Bloomberg, even though he made some pretty racist comments in the past. Very much enjoy your commentary. Thank you very much, Ian Sanderson. Ryanair seats don't decline anymore, right? I don't think so. No, probably they don't. I've never really reclined mine anyway, because I never felt it would make much difference. Can you see my comments? Molten Armor? Yes, I can. Sorry if I don't respond to everyone's comments, because we have about 110 people in the chat at the moment, so I'll try and respond to as many as I can. So if I don't respond to your comment, just post it again and I'll try and respond. Watch how the mainstream media attack Bernie to hack and back, because the DNC unfortunately is run by the super rich, just not necessarily the super racist. Yes, because they want someone who's not going to change the system. They're happy. Sorry, my computer is asking for an update. No, thank you. Postpone. because the DNC don't want to change the system. They want to does that mean you're doing awesome? An update on my computer, I don't know. They don't want to change the system. They want to... You have to remember also that the system, and I'm not talking just about the political system. Hello, Cormac Keenan. The system inside the party is also corrupt, where you have, hundreds of people who are strategists and advisors and, private individuals who advise politicians. They don't want that to change. They get paid a lot of money to tell politicians what to do. Go after this this demographic, or ignore this demographic, or you should campaign in this way or campaign in that way. And they advise the politicians to move to the center or move to the left or move to the right. And those are the people you see on TV being interviewed and giving their opinions. And the likes of Bernie Sanders wants to get rid of those. He wants to eventually... Hi, QA Library. They want to get to move away from that and get eventually get to a system where your tax dollars pay for the campaigns. There's none of this raising money from private individuals or from corporations, and that's the best way to go, I think, because advertising is not free, of course, but you can have it publicly paid. When I worked in Northern Ireland, used EasyJet between London and Luton and Belfast International for 24 flights. That was better than one flight with Ryanair between Dublin and Luton, yes. I don't know why. Maybe it's the different aircraft, because I think Ryanair use Boeing and EasyJet, I think, use Airbus. So I don't know if it's the aircraft that's different. But I'm sure that when they're buying the aircraft, they're able to decide how many seats to put into it. So, how wrong do you think things will have to go after Brexit for Leavers to say that en masse to say that they made a mistake? It'll have to be very bad. It'll have to go really, really badly. But I think if you start to see, factories closing and people queuing up at the border and seeing that the European Union citizens go faster, it won't be one day where people will realize it, but it'll be a constant drip, 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 and eventually it could be a couple of years where at the moment, actually, most people would prefer to stay in the European Union. But the hardline Brexiteers, I think eventually people will see, wait a minute, we were supposed to get everything better. Everything was supposed to improve after Brexit, and things are not improving. So it will take a while, and we're not going to see it in a short period of time. But I think it'll be this drip, 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 constant drip of, as I said, some the EU citizens going faster in queues, or when they go abroad they have to pay an extra tax, or small little things. They'll add up, and then they'll eventually realize, no, it wasn't worth it. And they may actually campaign to get back in. Now, some people like Sargon of Akkad or whatever, they probably never admit that. But I think most people who have seen that they've lost something will change their minds. Oh, sorry, I was blabbing away and I've missed a lot of the questions. So if I don't answer your question, please do repeat it. Today's 30th anniversary of Pale Blue Dot. Yes. So it's a pretty good occasion to put Max's... What has plain blue dot got to do with me? I was wondering if Britain's exit 2021 will ease the acceptance of Serbia. That could actually be the case, Peter. Britain out and these countries in. I don't know what sort of resistance, if there's any resistance from other European countries towards, Serbia, Albania, and North Macedonia coming into the EU. I'm not sure if some of the neighbours there, like Austria, or I don't know, Croatia, or some of those countries have a problem with those countries entering. Stuart says you're only answering or commenting on the questions that appeal to your political agenda, fraud and charlatan. No, write your question again. I'm sorry if I didn't respond to your question. I'm an unashamed Leave voter. I do not regret a decision. I am right-wing fanatic either. Okay, good. Let me know how you gained personally when the UK left the European Union. So if you're a Brexiteer and you said, I fully supported Brexit, okay, in what way did your life improve over the last month? Because I assume something has improved for you. Otherwise, what was the point in voting for it? People will refer to, oh, well, there was this law or that law, but personally, how did your life improve? The Cayman Islands are on the blacklist, yes. I think all the UK will have to suffer before any change. Sorry to hear that. Yeah, I know it's unfortunately people who voted to leave and people who voted to remain will both suffer under Brexit. What interests Dominic Cummings has with Brexit? I don't think it's about so much Brexit, but he saw Brexit as a tool for him to improve his lot, to improve his position. And he wants to be in control. And he saw, look, I can use Brexit as a way to convince the Conservatives to put me in control, because I'll win for them. I'll win the election for them. But Rovaline Ho, up you by you too. How long do you think? How long do you estimate it will take for Britain to be no more and England to be left standing alone? That's one. That's an interesting question. So, it's looking likely that Scotland, of course, will get independence and leave the UK, and Northern Ireland as well. I talked about this before in another live stream, how from every 4 to 8 years, Northern Ireland will be able to vote on whether to continue alignment with the European Union or to return to alignment with the UK, or England and Scotland and Wales, GB. And at the moment, there isn't support for that, for maintaining alignment with the UK in Northern Ireland, in that Parliament. So it's looking likely it's going to maintain alignment with the European Union through Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. So it's going to continually, gradually move towards Ireland. So to be reunited with Ireland. It's not going to happen like many people think. Many people think it's going to be, one day it will be declared, Northern Ireland is now part of the Republic of Ireland. It'll be a gradual process. And in many cases, people may never actually see it. I think the Republic of Ireland are going to maintain a type of respect for the unionist community, for them to allow them to maintain their culture, to wave their flags and things like that, and maybe even to maintain their currency, because there's nothing to gain in forcing them to say, now you're Irish, or now you have to have an Irish passport, or use our currency or use the euro. I think it's going to be a gradual process. And I last year, actually, I was speaking to, on a flight, incidentally, I was speaking to a unionist from Belfast, and he was We were just chatting on the plane, and he was telling me about how many people in the unionist community have resigned to the idea they said, look, we're expecting a united Ireland, and we might as well go with it. And most people in the unionist community, not the hardliners, not the politicians, but ordinary Protestants or ordinary unionists, are saying that, look, at the end of the day, I care more about having a job and paying my rent or paying my mortgage, making sure my kids are going to school, have a school to go to, learning, preparing for the future. They don't really care that much about the politics of, the Republic of Ireland or Britain, or they care more about bread and butter issues. So he himself, and he could only really represent himself. He couldn't represent the unionist community. But the impression I got was that most people in the unionist community agree with him. Okay. Could a newly independent Scotland temporarily merge with Ireland to get automatic EU citizenship without delay? Akbar Ali, I think that would depend on the European Union. It could, I don't know about going through Ireland, but it could, I think, get EU status as an EU country without that. I wouldn't necessarily have to go through Ireland. But it depends again. I think it depends on if Boris Johnson gets his bridge built, I should say. For the third time, each country has a veto. Born in Wales, parents Irish, Cork by. For as far as I'm concerned, I just want the people of the island of Ireland to get along and be happy, whether it's together or separate. Yes, I agree 100%. Gradual reunification would be delightful. The alternative is ultimately compromise our republic to foolishly try to appease loyalist haters. It would be a gradual process, of course. I think Scotland is welcome to join the EU, but it takes time. There could be some exceptions made, but I think there are a lot of technical issues that would need to be ironed out before the Scotland could, join the European Union or rejoin. I don't know. Would it be joining or rejoining? It's a sort of a weird scenario because you normally have countries leave and then rejoin, but Scotland is not an independent country at the moment. So how would it rejoin, or would it join? I don't know if there's any particular expert on Scotland or Scottish independence, apart from members of the SNP. But it'd be interesting to hear a professor from in the University of Edinburgh or something talk about the possibility of Scotland joining the European Union. I think it's important also to keep the politics out of it. Of course, I have great respect for the SNP, but I think it'd be interesting to hear a neutral voice on the possibility of Scotland joining the European Union. How Brexit affect Hogwarts? How is Corbyn still taking Prime Minister question? That guy is without shame. He should have resigned after the election defeat. I don't know why he's still there. I understand they're looking for a new leader, and it's looking more and more likely to be Keir Starmer. But for the sake of the party, Jeremy, even if you agree with Jeremy Corbyn and you respect him, I think it makes sense for him to leave. And he should have left on the day after the election. In Star Trek The Next Generation, they predicted United Ireland by 2024. Wow. They never mentioned Scotland. I know there was an episode about a United Ireland in Star Trek that was banned, I think, in the United States, or maybe it was banned in the UK. Do you think England will be by itself within a decade? That is, no Wales. Wales is more difficult to predict, but 10 years is a long time. It's in normal years. Why was I saying hours? Normal years, it's not, but in politics, it's a long time, and it depends on what type of if Scotland can get its referendum, and if the British government, try to block that. Your opinion on Nicola Sturgeon's visit to the EU? I didn't see her visit to the EU. I've been missing a lot of things in the news. But I'm sure that the EU are very welcoming to pro-EU parties, as you can imagine. But I think they really do reach out to parties like the SNP or the Liberal Democrats, because they know that these people actually do care, and they're not just doing it. It's not virtue signalling. But I do think that the EU could fast track some Scottish independence, an independent Scotland into the EU. Commander Data mentioned the Irish Unification 2024 or something. The reason was that Picard says terrorism doesn't work, and Data retorts with, what about Ireland? Reunited in 2024 due to the IRA. Damn, I'd like to watch that episode again. Do you own a classical meme page on Facebook? Not that I know of. I have a Facebook page, but not a meme page. I just I've mainly a Facebook page where I post sometimes these videos. If a Remainer wants to escape England, they should marry a Dutch, break the shackles. I was elected to lead, not read. You certainly won't see any political prescience in modern Star Trek Picard. I haven't seen the new series. Is it not as good as the Next Generation? Because I read that one of the reasons Patrick Stewart wanted to do the new Picard was because he was sick of the films. And he said that the films, the movies that had Picard and the Next Generation crew they were terrible. They completely went off the canon, and they were not representative of Jean-Luc Picard, and that's one of the reasons that he wanted to redo a series just about him. So I'm pretty sad if it's not going to be representative of the real Picard. Chancellor Sajid Javid has been a jerk earlier in the Brexit process. Do you now feel sorry for him, or do you see him getting what he deserves? So I don't know if you saw my video I uploaded about him saying back in 2016 that Brexit would be a disaster. And now, up until recently, he was saying, yeah, Brexit will be fantastic. It's the will of the people, and we need to do it. It's going to be a success. It shows that he didn't really believe in anything. He wanted power. He wanted his own. He wanted to cut out his own niche and rule from that, I think. So I don't have any sympathy for Sajid Javid. I think he's going to come back. I think he was probably someone who was challenging to Boris Johnson's power, and of course after that Dominic Cummings' power. So he was removed. See, Boris Johnson and Commons want to surround themselves with idiots, people that they can manipulate and control, and yes men or yes women, and that's that's, if you saw the new cabinet meeting, that's what it was all about. It's quite pathetic, and it makes sense because they have a majority now and they want to protect their positions. They don't want, any Brutus characters there to remove Boris Johnson. But Boris Johnson won't be safe. I've said this before, that he will probably be removed, but maybe not now from someone in cabinet, but it could be more likely someone within Parliament, probably on his own side. The Tories have an office set up in Edinburgh that is likely to be bypassing Holyrood and directly funding local councils with a pro-union. My God. Once again, no respect for the Scottish people. The Scottish people voted for the SNP, so the Tories just want to bypass them. Do you generally think you are intellectually superior to just about everyone who used their democratic right to vote to leave? When have I said that I am? So, no, I don't. I don't think I'm intellectually superior to anyone. But if people have voted to make their lives worse, then please tell me how that's a good thing. Given that the UK couldn't rejoin under the same terms and conditions, do you think that makes it less likely that the population will want to rejoin? No, I think because if the situation becomes really bad, Glenn, people will say, look, what have we to lose? People will understand that it will not be as good as before, but it'll be better than the situation that they're in. It's like if you're standing on dry ground and suddenly you're in the middle of the ocean, you prefer to be, closer to land. If you never get to land, you prefer to be in a boat and just inventing an example. What can I say? I don't remember even the word for it. I'm just inventing something now, but it's better to be in a boat than drowning in the sea. While it's better than being in a boat, it's better to be on dry land. So membership is like dry land. The situation the UK will have, it may find itself after Brexit, would be drowning in the sea or being in a boat. How is it that Brexiteers got angrier? It's like, as I've said before, it's like a religion. A religion it's not good enough unless you believe it too. It's like the Jehovah's Witnesses, and no offense to anyone if you're a Jehovah's Witness, but Jehovah's Witnesses need to convert people. They're not happy with saying, okay, I'm a Jehovah's Witness and I believe this, and I'm not going to go around and bother and piss off people. No, that's what they do. The religion needs people to be converted. It needs its own, it needs to be legitimized. And you legitimize the religion by converting other people. People are religious people, not all religious people, of course, but many people who are part of a cult or whatever, they can't be satisfied until you also believe it. And Brexit is like that. If you say, look, I don't believe it, you are the problem. You don't believe in Brexit. You don't. So, it's like if someone were to say, I won a prize, and you said, well, can you show me the prize? And their response is, you don't believe me that I won a prize? And they'd become angry because you didn't believe that they won a prize. And you said, well, just show me the prize. And they can't show you the prize. Instead, they become angry with you for doubting that they won a prize. And Brexit is pretty much like that. We won. Okay, what did you win? Go away, you Remainer. You Remoaner. Uh, what experts do the Brexiteers trust? They don't trust any experts. You can't, because there are no experts for the Brexit. Like anyone who has, so it's the more you know about it, the more you realize it's a disaster. You have to believe in it. As I've said, it's like a religion, or Stuart says it's a cult. The EU is a cult. Okay. So I think Stuart is our troll tonight. I'll leave him there for a while. I'm not going to remove him. Normally if I remove the trolls, they say you're infringing on my freedom of speech. It's heresy to say you don't believe it. Yes. Do you think Brexiteers are more honest about reality? Stuart? I'm going to ask why you think you need moderators. Then I saw some of the comments. Do you think it's a fair amount of bad comments where more So do you think a fair amount of bad comments or where moderators are needed in your chat? I saw a lot of comments towards me. Many people were commenting to me and saying, look, can you do something about this guy or do something about that guy? And I can't delete all the comments. In some of the videos there are hundreds of comments, and I'd have to go through each one of them, and I'd prefer just to well, Stuart, did you tell me, look, you said I'm a troll because I disagree with you. Okay, then please tell me, how did your life improve since the 31st of January? So you've had Brexit, people were celebrating, UK has left. Okay, how has your life improved? I'm sorry if I'm picking on you, Stuart. I'm not. Look, I do these live streams and many people come on and they troll. So I'm not going. As I said, I'm not going to delete you unless you deserve it. But please explain how Brexit has improved your life. Pain will have to be felt before some Brexiteers realise that they're actually happening. Some will never accept it, unfortunately. Yeah, the ones who have a comfortable life. The guy, what was it, on Question Time, who earns £80,000 a year, he probably won't feel the effects of Brexit. But ordinary people, the working class, they will certainly feel it. But Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg, they won't feel the effects of Brexit. In fact, they'll probably, they'll feel the effects in the positive. They'll make some cash out of it. Blue passports which could have been actually blue and now are made by a French company. That's a victory. So destroying the economy, taking away people's ability to move and live in other parts of Europe without restrictions, that's the price worth paying to have a blue passport. And it's a passport that could have been blue anyway, because Croatia is a member of the European Union and they have blue passports. Why do... Because you're saying the European Union is a cult. So if you say the European Union is a cult, I'd like to know the dogmas and tenets of the European Union if you say it's a cult. I did recruitment for EU citizens. My mum voted leave because of blue passports. No joke. It was like, but now my business is gone. He travelled to Tunisia to lay flowers on the dead terrorist's grave. He called Hamas friends, and he worked for Iranian state TV. Those are the facts. Most people like Hamas. Like, who must not Hamas? Ian McKenna, the reason why the blue passports is a thing is because we don't want to be the same as the rest of the European Union. We have to be different. You know, we're British, we're not European. Like, who gives a crap what colour a passport is? It was a way of buying support for people who had no brain. You have to have no brain if the colour of a passport is, is so important to you. Like, if the government here tomorrow said, or the passport I have with the Irish government, if they said tomorrow the passport is going to be blue with pink polka dots, I don't give a crap. I care about what the passport can actually do. The colour doesn't make any difference. Actually, and now because it's worth less, it means that you gain a colour, but what do you lose instead? Like in the European Union, it's seen as a trade framework, and it enables the EU to negotiate with strength the continent-sized countries like the US and China. Yeah. It's a colour. I think Stuart has left. I haven't kicked him out, but I don't see him writing anymore, so maybe he has left. Is the Irish passport a dark green? No, it's a burgundy. The Irish passport is burgundy. I think maybe the older ones were a dark green when they were, but I've only had 2 passports because I renewed it every 10 years. So I've only had 2 passports, and both of those were burgundy. I think I need to renew mine in 2 years' time. I don't have a lot of stamps in it, unfortunately. I'd like to have more stamps in it. Flat Earth live stream just started. Oh, fantastic. Paris Muriel candidate withdrew his candidacy because someone posted a video of him being a jerk. Anyone got a video of Boris or Dominic? Where do you start, Anthony? There are hundreds of videos of Boris Johnson being a jerk. You've not left. Good. So, can you tell me? Can you answer my question? Why do you, or what tangible benefit have you seen of Brexit in your life since the 31st of January? Terry, it's about sovereignty. Yes, probably. It's about taking back control, I think. But now Dominic Cummings has all the control. Night Raven, you can give me the stamps if you want. Come to the Netherlands. There are plenty of jobs. You're welcome. Thank you very much, Henk. I have a friend who lives in Eindhoven. He's over here in Italy for a few days to visit family. So he lives in Eindhoven. He was telling me it's a wonderful place. I'd like to visit the Netherlands, so I promise I won't spend all my time in the cafes. I know the Dutch are not so happy with so many tourists coming in and filling up the cafes. How are you controlled by Europe, Stuart? Do you think the UK will get back its fishing community, Max? I think there is there's a problem, and it's not related to the EU, the declining fishing stocks. And you're going to have much more competition, irrespective of the EU situation. I think fishing is, especially the small fishing fleets are going to disappear. It's all going to be scooped up, excuse the pun, by the big fishing industry, and any small fishing boats are going to go to the wall, I'm afraid. I just tuned in, but wouldn't the trans period make UK nationals be able to use EU gates? Yes, it was all a bit of a storm in a teacup. EU, I think it's because of the confusion. So what happened was this guy queued up and he was like, "Oh, I didn't vote for this." And UK nationals at the moment still use EU gates. They don't have to use other gates. So, but there's confusion both, of course, on the behalf of UK citizens who are not sure, do I use the EU gate or do I not? And of course, at the airport, the staff at the airport are not up to speed on the situation of Brexit. So they're probably thinking, do we send the UK people to their own gate, or do we send them to the EU gate, or what do we do? A bit off topic, what are your thoughts on the upcoming extradition trial of Julian Assange? There's so much to say about that, Liam. I think, of course, it'll be a show trial, and there's the possibility that he would be, tried as a traitor to the United States. I don't know what he could be executed, even perhaps. And of course, it's not in the news, of course. So we're, it's very difficult to follow what's happening. But, stand up against the state, and that's what that's what happens to you. I told you why I thought you're a troll, because you're calling the EU a cult. I didn't say because I disagree with you, or you disagree with me. So, I'll take it back. I apologize for calling you a troll. But can you instead answer my question, which is, how has your life improved since the 31st of January? They don't answer because now we can control our borders, which still isn't correct. But I'd like to know how his life improved. I don't care about borders or sovereignty or blue passports or whatever, unless a blue passport makes him feel, warm inside or something. And if that's the reason, okay, then I think we can part ways on good terms, I hope. If the colour of a passport is important to you, okay, there's nothing I can say that would change that. But then you have to accept that it's just a feeling inside. So how self-determination? So you as an individual feel more self-determination since the UK left the European Union. Could you expand on that, please? What can you do now as an individual that you couldn't do before? MJ, yeah, but of course, the idea of the controlling our borders and immigrants arriving, it was used as a tool to convince the masses that we were powerless. Blame the European Union for the mistakes or the problems of the government itself. And it's a tool used not just by the UK, it's been used by many governments around the European Union. Blame the European Union because, of course, the European Union doesn't respond. When government fails, just blame someone else. The Irish border can't be controlled. The Good Friday Agreement won't allow that. Yes, that's true. EU helped create peace in Ireland and also solve most border disputes. Yeah, I think there's very little recognition for the EU in the Irish peace process. For example, there's a lot of recognition for, of course, the British and Irish governments, Tony Blair and Bertie Ahern, and the parties in Northern Ireland, and also the United States, for example. Bill Clinton's what was his name? Shame on me for not remember his name. Mitchell, that's senator. I think he was a senator. They got a lot of recognition, of course, but the EU got very little, but it was a crucial part. Thank you for your retraction, my friend, and I'm very happy to see that we can disagree without throwing insult. No, I'm not here to, I think we can have a bit of banter, but I'm not here to insult anyone. Hello, do you think one of the reasons Sajid resigned? Oh, I need to slow down the chat, so just bear with me with a moment, guys. Sorry guys, I'm having some trouble with the chat. I'm trying to slow it down a bit, but it doesn't allow me to do this. No. Okay. No, sorry guys, I'm back. No, I was trying to do something with the chat, but of course I'm not very technical this evening, and my software won't let me pee break. No. No, if I go on a pee break, I'll let you guys know, honestly. The US now said that they won't even negotiate a deal with the UK yet, choosing to concentrate on negotiations. 1-1, yeah, they're going to spend, they care more about, dealing with large blocks, like the European Union or China or also Japan. The UK is going to have to wait at the back of the queue, unfortunately. I'm saying unfortunately because I don't want, I want Britain to get out of a bad situation. Brexit is going to be bad for Britain, but I don't want British people to suffer under that. I take no pleasure from this. I want, I hope Boris Johnson can make the best of a bad situation. I don't think he will. I don't think it's in his interest. But I hope that the negative effects of Brexit are limited as much as possible. Hit it with a hammer. I don't usually believe Boris the liar, but he's talking about gross imbalance in treaty, about expedition treaty. Maybe he's just getting headline. The proof will be in the pudding. Yes. Basically, the UK has been told what Obama told them: get to the back of the queue. It's like in Australia. The EU and the UK went to Australia to start. And sorry, just to back up a little bit, Boris Johnson was talking about having an Australian type trade deal, and it doesn't exist. There is no Australian style trade deal. The EU and Australia are starting out now, just starting to negotiate something. And Boris Johnson was saying, yeah, we're going to have a similar deal, even though no deal exists at the moment. And of course, the UK, it was Dominic Raab, met with the Australian negotiators for about 4 hours. And the EU has been meeting with them for a week or something like that. It's just insane. It's just madness. So guys, not to be putting around a hat for money, but feel free to give any donations if you want. It's I've put in the link there. No obligation, of course. Just YouTube has demonetized my channel because I think I was doing a live stream and I was putting up some content on it, and I got some warnings about the copyright infringements, and I think after that YouTube demonetized my channel, so I was a bit pissed about that. So I can't. There are no super chats because of that as well. So, but you can give a donation if you want. So, no obligation, of course. Thanks very much. It's time to have fair trade deals with Africa without EU tariffs. Repay Commonwealth countries that have been unfairly treated. That's an interesting Rombo. That's an interesting point as well. Yeah, Brexit doesn't have to be a complete and utter disaster. I think building a better relationship perhaps with African countries, ex-colonies, could actually be a good thing, a good way to deal with post-Brexit Britain. Do you see anything good coming from Brexit? Maybe I'm grasping at straws here. But something interesting is I compare living here in Italy and compare with Northern Europe. And in Italy, there's very little, where I live, but there's very little sense of community. And in Ireland, I noticed that there's a bigger sense of community. And also in Northern Europe, there's a bigger sense of community. People are friendlier to each other. People look out for each other. I don't know if you're living in the UK or in Northern Europe and you've experienced this, sometimes I need some sugar, and you run to the neighbor and they'll offer you some sugar or, some milk or something like that. There isn't this sense of community here in Italy, where I live. That's not everywhere, but I think perhaps when times get tough, and I think this comes from an historical context, when the winter arrived, there was less food, and people needed to bandy together. People needed to work together. I have a bit of cheese and I can share it with you. You have a piece of meat and you share it with me. John has some vegetables. He can give it to me, and we can share it around and work together as a community. And maybe if Brexit is really damaging to society, to the economy, maybe people will become more community based. Maybe people will work together more. Maybe this is a pipe dream. Maybe this is utopia I have in my mind, but and it's not really based on much, but it could perhaps build a better sense of community in communities. I'm looking at the chat in the country after Brexit. Which is the best festival? The good thing about Brexit is that it'll probably trigger a change in the British political system, hopefully sooner. Yes, much more down to earth response there. I hope it will change the first past the post system. A more proportional representation system would be much more democratic. But unfortunately, the two main parties are not interested at the moment in changing that, especially the Conservatives. The current system benefits them greatly, so they're not interested in changing that. The good thing about Brexit, you have to keep your breakfast. Wouldn't it be ironic if Boris builds the bridge and both Scotland and Ireland get independence? Scraggly Bear, yes. I don't. If it was a bridge between, I don't know, England and Wales, I don't know if there's a point of building a bridge even at any place between England and Wales. I know Wales, of course. I know Wales and England are connected by land, but maybe there's some area where they're separated by water. That would make more sense than one between Scotland and Northern Ireland, considering the current situation. If the plan had been made 10 years ago, it had been put down 10 years ago on paper, then perhaps you could think of something. But Scottish independence and Northern Ireland thrown under a bus by the Tories, I don't see it going down very well. Build better communities. Sorry, I think not. The country is divided still. I will never forgive or forget. So build better communities. No, Suzanne, I understand your frustrations. Yes, I'm hopeful that something could be rebuilt, given time. But I'm not. I wouldn't put money on it. Bridge not possible because of Germans. Yes, there was the bombing, and there are too many bombs. I don't actually think they're German bombs. I think they're related to munitions that were dumped by the British Navy after World War II. So I'm not sure if they're German bombs. Maybe I stand corrected if I am wrong here, but of course you have the bombs there in the sea. You also have it's a very rough part of the Irish Sea. It's very rough there. It's very dangerous to build a bridge there, and then to maintain a bridge there, because people seem to forget once the bridge is built, you have to maintain the bloody thing, and that's sometimes usually more expensive than the actual building of the bridge. What does Sinn Féin win mean for Brexit? Does it mean that more of the Republic of Ireland will unite with Northern Ireland? So the win for Sinn Féin in the Republic of Ireland. So at the moment, there isn't a government formed with Sinn Féin, and it's not sure if there will be actually a government formed that includes Sinn Féin. The likelihoods are Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael forming a government, which is unlikely. Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin forming a government, that was somewhat likely until a few days ago, and just today I read that Fianna Fáil don't want to do that. So probably put it on the screen. Okay. So it's probably not going to happen between any of the main parties. So there's a likelihood that there will be another general election. Now, if Sinn Féin are in government, they would push for a border poll. So there would be a type of referendum for a united Ireland. And if it won, then they would start the process of uniting the two parts of the country. So having Sinn Féin in government definitely would improve and push the chances of having a border poll. And Brexit, of course, Northern Ireland will become more aligned with the European Union after Brexit. So, after the 31st of December this year. So this would mean that, regarding trade and laws and everything, Northern Ireland would be more aligned with the EU, and by default Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. So Brexit pushes Northern Ireland away from the UK. Can Sinn Féin be a minority government? They could form a minority government with some of the left-wing parties, but of course any laws that attempt to pass would be blocked by the two big parties of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. They'd work together to block Sinn Féin because they're not happy about the situation. It's not a very nice situation for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, because they had ruled the roost for 80 years and now they've been knocked out on their arse, I should say, not ass. And they'd thwart Sinn Féin whenever in any way possible. They would prefer to see one or the other than Sinn Féin in power. Fianna Fáil would prefer to see Fine Gael in power than Sinn Féin, which is weird. Let me see. Just bear with me for a moment, guys. I'm doing some technical things here. No, that didn't work. Anyway. Let me see the next comment. Everyone in Britain that doesn't live in the southeast to Manchester should be getting the HS2 tax rebate. Can we have a pan-left alliance, please? Hi, or JY. If other countries leave the EU, could it collapse? It could collapse, yeah. If probably some of the bigger countries, if France left or Italy left, or of course if Germany left, the whole thing would completely fall apart. Spain perhaps, but at the moment none of these countries are likely to leave. Poland probably will be the most likely at the moment, but I don't know if that would have much of an effect. It could create some tremors, but I don't see many countries would be likely to follow the UK or follow Poland. Sorry. Are you in support of a united Ireland? Yes and no. So historically, because, and I hate to go down this road, but a united Ireland is more a feeling than a real political goal of many people. So they like the idea of a united Ireland, but many people are not politically driven to have they would not be able to give you tangible benefits of a united Ireland. It's more a feeling. Now, I don't mean to insult anyone who truly believes in it. It's not my intention, but I think a lot of people, the average person on the street would say, yeah, I like it, and if you ask them to give a benefit, they wouldn't be able to give you a benefit, really. So do I support? I generally support the idea of allowing people to be part or not to be part of something they generally agree or disagree with. What I mean by that is, if the people of Northern Ireland would like to be part of the Republic of Ireland, then I would support that. If they decided, no, we don't want to be, then I'd support that also. So I don't believe a united Ireland should be forced. But if it happens and the people are happy with that, then I'd support that. It doesn't really answer your question, whether I believe it should happen. I think maybe from the feeling part, probably I would agree with that. But, I can't be criticising Brexiteers over feelings, and then turning around and saying, yeah, I believe in a united Ireland based on a feeling. No, I think it depends on a lot of things, but generally I think if the people living there want something, then they should be allowed to vote on it and, have their own self-determination regarding that. For example, Nigerian imports of cocoa powder face 2.8% tariff, but with no arrangement, the tariff would be 8%. Thanks for that info. Yeah, there are so many things that will have tariffs put on them that we don't even know about, and that's one thing that's going to drive up the cost of many foods, because cocoa powder is used in a lot of foods, and it'll drive up the price, of course, in the UK, not just because of the cost, but also for the production. One, thank you. You're welcome. It's not a simple yes or no. I disagree, Max. There would be a short-term pain, but medium long-term additional population and land area would be a huge boost to Ireland economically, culturally, and diplomatically. You're probably right, yeah. And I mean probably as in, yes, you're right. But I think most people asking, would most people agree? Probably it's more of a feeling. But there certainly would be an adjustment required. Something like 10%. They said 10%. I read somewhere 10% of a loss of GDP for the Republic of Ireland for a number of years in order to adjust. And then there would be the costs related to security, but I think those would probably disappear after a period of time, because the relationship, I think, between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland and the Unionists in Northern Ireland would be very different compared to the past relationship between the UK, London, and Northern Ireland, and the Republicans or the Catholics or Irish nationalists in Northern Ireland. We've moved on from that sort of polarizing belief. There's always been rumblings of unionist leaders have been secretly negotiating a semi-autonomous Northern Ireland within an All-Ireland context. Hoplite? I'm not familiar with that. There is a sort of independence movement in Northern Ireland, but I don't know how much traction it would have. And because of, such as the European Union and globalization, truly independent nations are not very powerful, and they struggle. You're such a kind, lovely chap. Oh, thank you. I first heard about you a year or so ago, and I haven't seen the people's best interests at heart. You have been a voice of oh, thank you very much. Through a sea of junk. I get my inspiration from James O'Brien. But the parallels with say German reunification are way off the mark. Yes, because there wasn't is a completely different kettle of fish in German reunification. Just sent you a link via Twitter. Not sure if it's a joke or parody. He was speaking the truth. I'll check that out. I won't do it now, but I will check it out later. QA Library, thank you very much. Do you support a bridge from Land's End to South Wales? Unless there are bombs under the water on the seabed, I don't know. I doubt it. Thanks to Brexit, EU support in Denmark has gone from 60 to 75%. Evidladum, are you in Denmark? There is anticipating the demographic change in Northern Ireland it is alleged. Yes, the Catholics breed faster than Protestants, to put it bluntly. So the number of Catholics and Catholics generally support a united Ireland. They are outbreeding the Protestants who support remaining with Britain. But I think, yeah, that's quite blunt. But I think generally people are becoming more international, more global. And as I said, I don't know if you were around when I said it. I was speaking to a guy from Northern Ireland, a unionist, and he said, at the end of the day, I care about my job, my children's future, and I'm not interested in, petty politics. What do you disagree with when it comes to James O'Brien? What do I disagree with James O'Brien about? That's a difficult question. I don't want to sound like a sycophant, so I have to disagree with him about something. It's more perhaps his approach with people on his show. So let me give a bit of a caveat here. So I understand that he listens to a lot of crazy people all the time, and when you're listening to these people, you have to we say in Italian le palle piene, which means you can reach your limit and you can be just dismissive of them. And I think he should be a bit less dismissive. Briss says 88, yeah. So he should be a bit less dismissive of people. But on policies, I don't know. Actually, I disagree with him. Do you disagree with James O'Brien or Tony? What did he say about Tony Blair? Probably I don't. I think, no, now I just thought of it. James O'Brien really bought into the anti-Semitism around Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour Party. And I disagree with him on that because, and I did go on a bit of a rant on one of my videos responding to James O'Brien about that. James didn't give any examples, for instance. So he didn't say, Jeremy Corbyn is anti-Semitic because of X. And he just said he's anti-Semitic and, this is a problem. And okay, but can you give us an example? What did he say? What did he do? And there was no evidence behind that. So that sort of pissed me off, and I went on a bit of a rant about that. And I saw no evidence connecting Jeremy Corbyn to anti-Semitism. Of course, there are people in the Labour Party who are anti-Semitic, as there are in every party almost. But just to say that Jeremy Corbyn is the problem and he should be apologising all the time, it just came across as bland and weak, especially from someone, with the stature of James O'Brien. Why do you live in Italy? I live in Italy, George, because my wife is Italian. So we moved here some years ago. So we met in Ireland and then we decided to move back and forth and eventually move back here. Do you remember the DUP joining with the Tories, for example? Yes. They got £1 billion out of it. What about Jonathan Pye, aka Mighty Pye? The Mighty Pye. Jonathan Pye is an epic. He's fantastic. I don't know how many cuts or how many takes he does to make those rants, but he never gets distracted by people in the background, or he's never, he's amazing. James O'Brien seems happy with the wars in the Middle East. Then I disagree with him on that. Deanne, okay. No, because the wars in the Middle East, a complete waste of resources, waste of money, waste of lives on both sides, of course. To gain what? To achieve nothing. Do you think the UK government will do something about the racism to the EU citizens in the UK that get threats to them to return to their country, doesn't want to hear their language? Barkan, I don't think so, because Boris Johnson has aligned himself up with very bad actors, very bad people, and he actually probably will give them more red meat. I don't know if you're familiar with the expression throwing red meat to the base. He'll pop out with a few more racist comments, and it will drive these people more towards him. How's your Italian language? Abbastanza bene, credo, which means I think it's quite good. DUP is a political party, nothing to do with Act of Union. Northern Ireland didn't even exist. Yes. Trump also thinks Middle East wars are a waste of... Yes, but Donald Trump is saying one thing and then doing something different, increasing the number of soldiers to Syria and then reducing them and then sending them somewhere else. He talked about, we need to end these wars, but the US is still in Afghanistan. There are still troops in Iraq. So, Afghanistan, 2001? 19 years. Do you think if Sinn Féin fail, the left wing will set back Irish democracy 100 years to painful duplicity? Oh, Jesus. Or give PPP Social Democrats a chance? Tweelord. Do you think Sinn Féin will if Sinn Féin fail, the left wing will be set back? No, I don't think they will. I think Sinn Féin have really put their flag on the map here, that they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're not just a flash in the pan. They're not a protest vote. People really want change, and I just see Sinn Féin, at least, if not becoming stronger, but at least maintaining their position. If they go into opposition, they probably become more powerful, actually, because they'll have more of a voice. But they need to form a government, otherwise nothing is going to change. And their power probably will eventually dissipate, but in the short term, I think they're still in a strong position. Do you think one of the reasons that Javid resigned is to distance himself from realizing how difficult it is becoming and the long-lasting damage it will cause? Yeah, I think he wanted to separate himself from what Brexit is going to become. He doesn't want to be blamed for it. It's better some other chancellor gets blamed. And then when Boris eventually crashes and burns, Sajid can jump in and say, look, I will save the party, I will save the country. That's how it normally works. The same way that when Theresa May, her government collapsed, when she resigned, there was nobody was standing beside her. She was kicked down the street, and Boris Johnson and the others were lining up to take her position. There was no love for her lost. But can the EU force the UK to do something to protect EU citizens? The most the EU could do was take the UK to the European Court of Justice. But I think that's more to do with trade. I don't know if it would cover things like human rights and that. But they could. There are things they could do. They could impose sanctions and things like that. But I don't think the UK will. But they're not going to do it for individual cases, of course. It would have to be something systematic. Did you live in London in the UK? No, I've never lived in London, but I've visited a number of times. But I'd like to live in London. London's a beautiful city. It's an amazing place. Did he spill the beans and end it all? He could spill the beans, yes. No, I think the real person to watch is Dominic Cummings. What is his next move? Yes or no? Should Ireland, Glasgow, well, this is not directed at me, it's Glasgow Kiss. Should Ireland and Wales and Scotland and England be allowed to have parties and members of parliament? Ramstein. Rishi Sunak is a professional stooge. Boris Johnson chose people not because of their abilities, but their ability to say yes. Thanks for the lovely live feed. Always unenjoyable. Thank you very much, Carmen. Kamen. Grunstoff. Wake up tomorrow. Have a good night's sleep. Is there any mood in Italy for an EU referendum? Not at the moment, but it depends on Mr. Salvini. If Salvini gets back into power, he may present the but he's not stupid. He's not going to have a referendum and fail. So I don't think he would have a referendum on the European Union. Do you think Johnson says no to comments? No, he does not. It's not so much that Boris Johnson is a puppet and Commons is, pulling the strings. It's more, I think Commons is telling Johnson, you should do this. This is a good idea. You shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. You're in control, but I'm just advising you. But it's not a very good relationship. Max, donations not getting through or just not appearing on screen? Oh no! Let me see. Yes, the donations came through. Thank you very much. You guys rock. Thank you very much. They're not appearing on this on the chat, but what I'll do is I'll read them out maybe at the next in the next video. I might do it in the next video. The next video I upload, one of the next videos I upload, I'll write something in the video, or I'll comment about thanks for the super chats, or I'll do it at the next super chat. I'll take down the names of the not the super chats, but the donations. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. Of course, if you can give a donation, do. If you can't, do not worry. Okay. Being on the stream is fantastic. Okay, I love the streams. I love it more than doing videos. The stream, I love interacting with you guys and answering your questions if I can. Some of the questions are quite difficult, so I'm not able to respond to all of them as well. Universal basic income in UK and EU would resolve so many problems. Yes, Vinay, I'm a big advocate for UBI. Now, some people have disagreed with me, saying that it would. I had problems with PayPal for donation. Guys, if you have a problem, if you make a donation and it doesn't work, then just leave it. Okay, don't try it a number of times. Okay, I actually had a problem setting up PayPal on my live stream today when I was setting up the live stream. It just wouldn't go through. So if it doesn't work, don't try and send it a number of times, because I don't want you sending, a number, the same money like 5 times or anything like that. Okay. But if I don't think it's the stream's problem. I think it's PayPal, because I had some problems logging into PayPal today. Question: the calendar photos, when we see them, they're in the pipeline. Yes. The summer is coming, so I'll have to find some good some good backdrops. Enjoyed the chat. Thank you very much, Steve C. Use a different browser. Pro tip. Thank you, Ian, for that suggestion. I heard that London's some case of racism. Also, that London, if it reports to the government, the mayor, I don't know, which the London reacts fast against. London is a different, is different from the rest of the UK, and the mayor of London is allegedly he's good at dealing with issues of racism, and there should be maybe a website you can go to, or there's a hotline you can call. I can't get Rishi Sundak's smile out of my head. It's like Priti Patel's smirk, is it? Have you heard the argument that UBI could be a pacifying drug that ingrains oligarchy in a post-Labour future economy? There is that side of it as well. I think Michael Brooks is very critical of UBI in this way, that it will stop people from rebelling against, the 1%, because people would be given some money to keep them quiet. And, that's a valid point to make. But I think we need to have some system, because more and more jobs are disappearing to AI, robotics and automation, and we need to have some backup. People need to have something to pay the rent, to pay their bills. Guys that are regularly in the chat should be considered for mod. What I'll do is can I do a copy and paste? If Bojo was abducted by aliens tomorrow, who would consider me the best replacement for him? That's a terrible question, because I don't know who's worse than or better than Boris in the government. Michael Gove, maybe, but that's not a vast improvement. Let me see. I'm with you guys, just bear with me for a moment. I'm just attempting to put in some moderators. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm back. US Democratic candidate Andrew Yang has the most persuasive argument for UBI in the age of automation. And unfortunately, he has dropped out of the race. So it would be nice to keep him in the race. But unfortunately, on the debate stage, he's not aggressive enough. How much time per day do you spend researching, watching British TV? I know Rye's bad, but hope you get some air. I get a lot of information on Twitter. I view a lot of... I follow a lot of people on Twitter. And I have to... I normally get most of my research, maybe it's not very good, but from... You're welcome, Glasgow Kiss. It's a pleasure. Get most of my news from The Guardian, BBC, and generally those and then of course Twitter, of course. James Berry Ultra or Uber Troll. Just a moment. Max, do you think Trump is funny? I think he's really hilarious. I think he's unintentionally funny, yes. Right, you lot, shape up or there's going to be trouble. We have to keep James Berry, yes. For entertainment purposes. Trump. What do you guys think? Do you think Trump is going to remain president next year, or do you think the Democrats will be able to get him out? James Berry does keep the comment section of Max videos lively. Yes, he does. I don't think he's he's not he's harmless. So Trump will remain. Depends on who the Democrat is. Yes, all the betting says so. I think maybe the betting is still a bit early because some of the betting recently was saying that Joe Biden would be the nominee, but it's looking more and more likely that Bernie Sanders would be. But the last election, turnout wasn't the problem. It was turnout in the wrong places. Be right back. Looking at the current betting. And Hillary Clinton, won the popular vote. So it's not so much, so you can't really go by polls, because polls will only tell you the general idea of, who's going to have the highest turnout. And the Democrats normally win on turnout and the popular vote, but they don't win the Electoral College, of course, or they have, they lose, I think it was Obama lost the last... I don't remember, in 2012, did Obama lose he won the Electoral College, of course, but did he lose on turnout? I don't remember. On the popular vote, sorry. The Economist gave Trump 40 to 45 to win. Now, moderators, be kind to each other. It's the world as we know it. Trump is a flatliner. Maybe you think Farage is a flatliner. Trump would probably win, unfortunately, but I do hope to see Trump and Sanders go head to head. One popular vote easily. Okay, sorry about that. I know in 2008, I wasn't sure about 2012. Do you think policies actually matter in American politics, or it's all about personality? It's all about personality, I'm afraid. People are. I was saying at the beginning of the the live stream that Michael Bloomberg is winning support from the Black Caucus and Black voters. So, Max, do you think the UK was in the same situation of Brexit if last summer Jeremy Hunt was winning the race against Bojo to become Prime Minister? Do you think he was going for no deal? No extra. See, it depends. Boris Johnson is not someone who's a hardline Brexiteer. He went with what he could. He could improve his position with. So he knew Brexit was going to improve his position. RJY, thanks for coming on the chat. Ciao. Have a nice evening or a nice night or wherever you are. So if it was someone else instead of Boris Johnson, I think the outcome would have been pretty much the same. Electronic Frequency, hi. Did you hear the Bloomberg recording? Which one? The one where he's saying about stop and frisk, or the one about poor people not being responsible for the crisis, the economic crisis in 2007, or was it something else? When Brexit goes bottom over breast, do you think the Conservatives will be able to withstand being blamed in the election campaign and still win? That's 1-1. That's an interesting question. So will the Conservatives get the blame? Probably not. They'll blame someone else. They'll blame the European Union. They'll blame Remainers. They'll blame... will they get the blame? I think it depends. It's difficult to view the future because we have to get past the first, we have to get past the transition period. Sarah Jessica Farter, hi. We have to get past the transition period. So once we're past the transition period, it's easier to predict how things are going to pan out. But, excuse me, I think the Conservatives are, putting down the sandbags because they realise that when things go really badly, they'll need to have some sort of firewall. And it'll be blaming probably the European Union for a while. But that can only stick with so many people for so long. So I think people will eventually turn on them. And they'll just throw out Boris Johnson and put in someone else, probably. Say, look, we've changed. Trump is 8-13 to 4-7 to 8-15. Second place is Michael Bloomberg. So Trump has it. I think the contribution link isn't working for me. I have an old phone. Jay, don't worry about that. If it doesn't work, don't worry about it. If it works, good. If it doesn't, don't worry. Best is to have you here. That's what I care about. Can Boris be deported? Just like we did with Napoleon. Albert, no, he'd prefer to go to, what's the one he went to last, where he got 10,000, somebody paid, was it 15 or 10,000 pounds for him? All you have to do these days is say what you hate. Yes, I agree, Ian. Not what you like. And you win. Yes. What do you think of Pete Buttigieg? I think he... Isn't he the guy... Well, he's the guy who says we need to find the shape of democracy and we need to reach out to the people who have been divided. You know, he's just a platitude machine. He doesn't actually have any policies. I have a friend on Facebook who I argue a little bit with him about this. He's, you know, fully signed up to the Pete Buttigieg fan club. And anytime I challenge him on it, he's like, "Oh, you're just a supporter of Sanders. Yeah, Sanders is not even a Democrat, and Sanders." Thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss. I love you guys. You guys are the best. So what do I think of Pete Buttigieg? I think he's. You ask. Nobody has asked him why does he want to become president. I think it's for the same reason as Trump, because he's a narcissist. He wants it for himself. He wants power. It's not to make the lives of ordinary people better. And this whole Medicare for all who want it. No, was it Medicare for all? Yeah, who want it. It's just I'm going to use the platitude of Medicare for all, but I don't want to piss off my donors who are the health insurance companies. So I maintain them in the loop. But I don't see him getting very far, especially on Super Tuesday. I think he's going to lose. He'll probably disappear somewhere after Super Tuesday. At what point will the Tories get worried about Commons power? That's an interesting question. I think when he steps on the wrong toes. So when he starts pissing off the wrong Conservatives, maybe people who have been there a long time, maybe some donors, you know, you have to remember these people are not, even Dominic Cummings, he's not the brightest person in the world. So, you know, he'll make mistakes and he'd probably piss off the wrong people, and then they will ask for him to be taken out in the sense of removed from his position. I have to be careful what I say. So he'll be removed from his position, and he'll wither away. But until I know I'm not really answering your question, like who he could piss off, but I think it'll be someone in the party who'll piss off, or a donor, and they'll ask for him to be gone. Bernie will win. We need him as president. Needing someone, Val, Mitten, and having them is two different things, unfortunately. I agree with you. Bernie Sanders would make a fantastic president, but I don't know if he can win. So I think if he was able to have the same turnout as Hillary Clinton, which I don't think would be a problem for him, he has the support behind him. He needs to win it in the Rust Belt, so that would be the real battleground, and I think he could do it. But the betting is against my point of view. Max, so you say that if Jeremy Hunt was in place of Bozo, was the Brexit on 31st of October or still this January? Because the reason I think there would have been, maybe not at the same time frame, because these were invented by Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson called the 31st of October. Boris Johnson asked for the 1st of January. The 31st of January. They weren't, they weren't the European Union's decision. They were not the Conservative Party's decisions. But I think this was push coming from, Brexiteers who were donors of the party. Dominic Cummings, for example. See, I don't know if Dominic Cummings would have been even a figure in the party if Boris Johnson hadn't won. But I think Brexit would have been marching forward in some shape or form. Maybe not to the same extent as it did under Boris Johnson, but the Conservatives realised, Brexit is something we can win with. and they weaponized it. So I think it would have turned out slightly different, but we would still be facing some type of Brexit situation. Sanders is the very least bringing up issues which need to be addressed in the US. Level 9ing. I agree. Now, how much this resonates, how much this taps into what people actually do, really, or what they really actually care about, is another thing. I'm interested in issues. You're probably interested in issues. Most of the people on this chat are interested in issues. But if you go out on the street and you ask people if they care about issues, they'll say yeah. But then if you offer them, a picture of a politician, they'll vote on that for that politician because of what they see, or how they speak, or how they dress. I think it sounds ridiculous, but I think people are going to be criticizing Bernie Sanders' hair, or his way of talking, or his way of waving his hands around. People have been doing that, saying, I don't like the way he points his finger. Like, I'm not going to vote for him because of the way he points his finger. This is the sort of level we're at. And, you can't get through to these people on issues. They care more about superficial aspects than the actual, the real issues that will affect their lives. Sorry guys, but Bernie is Corbyn, and he will not beat Trump. It will be as a general election UK youth will support. I don't, DKML, I don't agree with that, because for two reasons. So first of all, Jeremy Corbyn went into the general election with a -60 approval rating, while Bernie Sanders is the most popular politician in the US at the moment. So we're looking at two people, the complete opposites regarding how the public view them. And then Jeremy Corbyn, the system that you're dealing with is completely different. The role of Prime Minister is very different to the role of President. There are many things that the President can do that the Prime Minister can't do. So the President is, head and shoulders above the power of a Prime Minister. So I think comparing the two, I don't agree that they are even comparable. Bernie's is basically just a decent guy. He needs to be seen drinking more beer. I'll have a beer with that guy. And I'm serious about that. He needs to. He's a man of the people, but he needs to maybe present himself more as a man of the people. Corbyn had a clause. Yes, I forgot to say that. The baggage. That Jeremy Corbyn had a huge amount of baggage, and Bernie Sanders has none. They have to invent baggage for Bernie Sanders, and it still doesn't stick. Say he's anti-Semitic, but he's Jewish. Oh yeah, we can't say that. He used to be a communist, and he's actually a socialist. Oh, okay, yeah, we can't say that. He's a democratic socialist, and he says, yeah, I am. And then they're like, okay. Damn, what can we use against him? He had a heart attack. Yeah, but now he's fine. Okay. And many people have heart attacks and they go back to work, a week later or whatever. So it's not something that they can... I think perhaps the age could be an issue. Now, it shouldn't be an issue, but for some people it may be an issue. And it could be something that Trump may use against him. Of course, it'd be completely ironic, Trump using something like age when his health is in shit. But it could be something he could throw at Bernie Sanders, and then, the media would run with that. The Americans have been conditioned into fearing socialism. Once it has overcome those things, it will improve for the American populace as a whole. I agree, Killer. They need to get this idea of socialism out of the system. Think the media hate Bernie more than Trump? Yeah, I think so. And there have been some media people, some commentators, even for MSNBC, I think it was MSNBC or CNN, who let slip, yeah, I'd prefer to vote for Donald Trump than Bernie Sanders. And then no, let me think about it again. Yeah, no, I wouldn't vote for Trump. Because he cares about the policies. He cares about, if this socialist gets in, I'm going to have to pay more in taxes. I think this USSR thing is a bit overblown because a lot of people in the 70s and 80s, politicians, were going, I think there were Labour Party members going to visit the USSR at the time. I think Bernie could just turn around and say, yeah, but didn't Ronald Reagan visit the USSR? Didn't he make peace with them? I think that would be a good way to respond to some of the comments. If you can compare Sanders to Corbyn, then you can also compare him to Sinn Féin. Sinn Féin, who finally broke all the seemingly eternal dupli. Sorry, I keep mispronouncing this word, of Irish politics. A different kettle of fish, but I understand where you're going. I agree with you about Sanders. He's got a bit of an old geography teacher about him. Mind you, my geography teacher was pisshead and drank at school. Glenn, are you from Ireland as well, by any chance? It's a bit mental that Boris has picked up on the crazy idea of a bridge between Scotland and Ireland, an idea so dumb that it was floated by DUP leader and ever-charming Arlene Foster. I didn't know she had presented that idea. Oh no, please tell me there isn't something going on behind the scenes between Bozo and Arlene Foster. Hope she's not pregnant. It'd be another illegitimate child of Boris Johnson's. I've been to Cuba, but I wouldn't want to live there. Do you honestly think the media give a flying fuck if it's Trump or Jesus? See, the media need to do things. They need to protect the bottom line. They don't want to pay more in taxes, so they're more aligned to centrist politicians. And Donald Trump economically is a centrist. He says stupid things on Twitter, but most of the media groups or whatever, or the big businesses, they're happy with Donald Trump. They don't have a problem with Donald Trump, on economic issues. They don't like him on social issues. They don't like him, writing ridiculous comments at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I think with if it was Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders, they would probably covertly support Donald Trump. Max says she has already had an affair. You never know. I hope we never see the video. Bernie needs to be more like Jacques Chirac, being happy as hell to touch some cow's butt and drink wine all day long while visiting the Paris. Yes. The bygone days when politicians were, but the French politicians, they're like people who just didn't give a shit, but didn't give a shit, but elegant at the same time. It's difficult to explain. Now you have people like Boris Johnson who doesn't give a shit, and you can see he doesn't give a shit. But there was a time when politicians like Jacques Chirac didn't give a shit, but he was elegant in his not shitting giving. Bernie's doing great, doing everything and saying everything right. The Democrats are right-wing compared to Europe and capitalists. That is why Bernie may struggle. No backup. Yes, I agree, Glasgow. He has to. I think it was Carl Kalinske said that Bernie's biggest problem is not beating Trump; it's winning the primary, because that's where the entire system is against him. And if he beats that system, then it'll be a walk in the park defeating Trump. Now, I don't agree 100% with that, but there is something to that. The idea that the system is designed against him, and the media, the big companies, and Michael Bloomberg spending millions and millions of dollars in ads, and not even taking part in a debate. Please listen to on YouTube to Christopher Hitchens. I'm a big Christopher Hitchens fan. Meeting Thatcher. I didn't see that. I should have seen that. Do you think Joe Biden is suffering from dementia? Yes, I think he's always had some problems, but now it's really bad. What was it he called? You lying, donkey-faced pony soldier, or something like that. Dog-faced pony soldier, or something. Now, what the F was that? Dog-faced pony soldier. Like, he insults voters or potential voters. He rambles on about, put on the record player and kids need to hear words. Like, I have a record player, but it's for nostalgic purposes, not because, that's the main way I listen to music. Let's suppose Labour was winning the general election last December. Do you think was required another Brexit extension? And was the second referendum between Norway deal and remain? So we'll jump into hypotheticals here. Bloomberg will support the candidate. So I think Labour probably would have, if they had won, they would have asked for an extension, yes, and then they would have negotiated, allegedly. We have to assume this because that's what they had said they would do, and it could have turned around and asked for a 2-year extension, and then wouldn't have negotiated. But they probably would have been going for something like a Norway deal. They were talking about eventually leaving, and Jeremy Corbyn wanted, if Jeremy Corbyn was Prime Minister, he wanted to leave the European Union. He wanted his Brexit. First of all, he wanted the Tories to have their Brexit, and for it to be a disaster, and then him to ride in and save the country, save the day. But I think it would have been some sort of soft Brexit or Norway style deal. Yeah. Remain not. Do you mean turntable vinyl? Yes, I do. Got it on Amazon because my wife and I love the old days. Like, we're not our days, but old things. I found a pair of World War I British Army officer boots on eBay. I think it was like £80 or something. I bought them. It's like, I shouldn't be doing this. I'll end up with no money. But I bought these boots, World War I cavalry officer boots. And then when they arrived, I saw there was a zip on the back. And I was like, no. Now they're worth nothing. No, but we like to see antiques, and in our town, once a month there's an antique market, and we bought lots of old junk. We don't go on holiday or anything like that. We prefer to spend our money on things that are ancient. Creepy Joe the touchy, the touchy-feely weirdo. No, it's not. He's not touchy. He likes smelling people's hair. The speech that AOC gave backing Bernie was inspirational. She's a future. Yes, I think if Bernie doesn't win, I think she probably could go ahead. She could be the candidate in 2024. If he does, then maybe not 2024, but I think someone else like her. Do you think Don Jr. or Karina West will run in 2020? No. Don Jr. is not going to. Don Jr. is not Donald Trump. because people voted for Donald Trump because he's Donald Trump. People don't know Don Jr. like they know Donald Trump. So I don't see Don Jr. Don Jr. is like a crappy, what's his name? The guy who's allegedly killed JFK, not JFK, Lee Harvey Oswald, the guy from Texas, what's his name? You guys will probably write it in the comment. But no, I don't see Don Jr. or the other West winning. No, it'd be probably, I don't know. It could. Donald Trump has shifted reality, so the next politician will either have to be going back to normal, or it will have to be somebody who will out-Trump Trump, somebody even more crazy than Trump. Ever since he won his impeachment, he's going after everyone who testified against him. Yeah. I think most people do care about politics. However, most people vote based on identity rather than policy issues. I agree, Sarah. Check out Bureau of Fifth Column when you get time. Yeah, I love that guy. I'm subscribed to his channel. He's I mean, the first time I heard him, I was like, oh, here's a redneck guy. No offense to him, and I don't think he'd take offense to it. But he's a Bernie guy. Let's start a GoFundMe to get Donald Jr. a chin spine. All donations will be rejected. He's a horrible character, horrible individual, Don Jr. Like I prefer, what's his name, the other brother. I prefer him to that. I don't like either of them, but Don Jr. is just, he's like the guy from American Psycho with just less charisma. Where's your accent from? Kevin Nolan. Nolan, well then you're from Ireland, I assume. I'm from Ireland, but I live in Italy. I've lived in Italy for a few years, so I think I've lost part of my Irish accent. I'm originally from Longford. Whereabout are you from Ireland? I assume, just by going by the name Nolan, so, but I could be wrong. Eric Trump, yes. Eric the imbecile. I'm British. We'll leave it. Trump get in. I can't go back to the UK. We'll leave if Trump gets in. I think what is Trump going to do in another 4 years? Things have really gone crashing, but like when he started, he wasn't so incoherent, and now he's rambling and going really off script. We're in Italy. I live near Venice, not in the sea, but near the sea, between the mountains and the sea. I feel like part of your Italian speaking has affected your accent. I couldn't place your county for the life of me. When I returned recently, my cousin said, you sound like a West Brit. So if you're from Ireland, you know what I can't even say it, a West Brit is. I think he'll go bankrupt. So a friend of Facebook was saying that Donald Trump has untreated syphilis. That's why he's like that. Trump's Scottish golf course is hemorrhaging $1 million per year. Eric is in charge of that shit show. Would love to visit there. Would love to visit where I am in Italy. Guys, if any of you'd like to come to visit Venice, let me know. We can meet up for a spritz. Spritz is a very nice drink here. Or a pizza, if you prefer to eat something. Do another video analysis of Mike Graham. Electronic frequency. That's they take a lot out of me. I age a few years after watching a Mike Graham video, but I will. He deserves another video. He has a new format now where he's interviewing people long form. So I won't do one of those because it would just take too long. But I will do another one of Mike Graham. I hope they're taxing the golf course fully. Yes. Syphilis is untreated Trumpism. And a bed for the night, Max. Of course, yes. Spritz is nice everywhere. No, you have to drink it here. Spritz is wine mixed with mineral water. Spritz is not wine, it's Prosecco mixed with a type of, it's called Aperol, I don't even know what it is, and then with sparkling water, and finally an olive and a slice of orange, or just a slice of orange and ice. And not a straw, otherwise Greta would be angry. No, that's a bad joke there. Longford is where my mum's side is from, and the family are from. Oh, very nice. I used to live a few miles from Edgeworthstown, if you know Edgeworthstown. You could ask her that. She should know Edgeworthstown. The Sam B. Trump golf course bit was hilarious. Don't know if you've saw. No, I haven't seen that. I have Samantha B. Check that out. Yes, let's book a charter flight to Max's calf. Mrs. Maxwell shoved the boots up. It's really small, guys. Okay, you can get you in one at a time. I don't live in a villa or in a mansion, like you probably imagine. Well, I got a nice spritz in Belfast. Ah, no, Giorgio. Giorgio. Okay, then if you said it was good, then I believe you. Lots of English and Irish roots have moved back here the last few years. Used to be about housing rates, etc. We're a lot cheaper here in the north. Can see a lot moving with Brexit. Maybe we're related. Maybe we are. Culchies outside Dublin, they call people from the country Culchies. In case you come to Belfast, does anyone really know what Aperol is? In fact, it originated in Padua. I live near Padua, so I think it was originally a drink that it's not Italian origin. It was actually invented by Austrian soldiers, where they would add up. So they had this ginger drink. They would add wine to it to strengthen it, or they would add water to, balance out the taste. And that's where it actually came from during the First World War. So I think it was Austrian soldiers. Because part of Italy was under the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. Aniseed, is it? You could be right. It could be aniseed. I need QA Library. He's our our nerd, our geek, to find out everything that's unfindable. He's very good at finding these things out. I can't believe I went to Belfast last year and I didn't try Buckfast. I was afraid actually to ask for Buckfast in a pub because I didn't know if they actually served it in a pub, and I was afraid that they would consider me weird if I was asking for Buckfast in a pub, because I think you can buy it in the supermarket. So why is it every time we do a live stream I start talking about politics and we end up talking about alcohol? I think all of you must have some Irish or Scottish in you. Oh, for Scottish independence, we could use the Irish way of encouraging the Scots diaspora back home. More Scots. Where did the Scots normally emigrate to? Was it to Canada? I think it was to Canada that many of them emigrated in the difficult times. Buckfast, don't mention it to us Scots. Are you going to apply for Italian citizenship? No, not at the moment. There isn't really any benefit. I maintain my Irish citizenship. I should really, because I'd like to vote in the Italian elections, but I haven't really got around to doing that. But it should be something I do in the future. I can have both. I can have Italian and Irish citizenship, so I should consider it. Is Oliver Cromwell the most hated figure in Ireland? Probably. Yeah, I think he would be. To hell and to Connacht, he had said when he arrived in Ireland, to get the people off the lands, the fertile lands in the west. He's off to Connacht, which is in the east. Correct myself. So the fertile lands were in the east, and the rugged landscape was in the west. He said, off you go to there. A good story or project never started with a cup of tea and toast. Yes. Jay Sterling, possibly Irish, but definitely Swedish, Spanish, every ish. Any opinion on the Sinn Féin result? It was a very good result for the left, but I think it's very important that Sinn Féin get into government if they are going to make any changes, and it's looking likely that there would be probably another election. It would help Sinn Féin probably, but I don't think it would help turnout. Many people would be off to the polls again. They'd see it as a waste of time and money, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword. But I think Sinn Féin would like to do a lot of good things, but I think if they go into coalition with Fianna Fáil, for example, a lot of those good things will fall by the wayside. They'll have to decide, okay, do we want to govern or do we want to pass policies that we like? And many times, unfortunately, parties weaken when they go into coalition or into government itself. But I think it's a good result for Sinn Féin and the left in Ireland. Ireland never really had a left-right divide, so any sort of divide, it was basically vote for Guy A with the hat or Guy B with the hat, or someone who's quite similar. Guy A and Guy B are quite similar. I'm rambling here now, but Sinn Féin definitely breaks the mold, breaks the routine of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. Top of Twitter, Trump. Well, top Twitter, certainly. Connacht is basically stung with turf of grass here and there, yeah, and no trees, or very few trees. It's a beautiful landscape. I'd like to, if I was ever able to retire, I'd like to live maybe in Connacht along the ocean. It gets very cold in winter time though, or here in the mountains in Italy, which also gets very cold. Um, have you watched You've Been Trumped? It's about building his Scottish golf course and how he tested the locals. Oh, I think I'd be foaming at the mouth watching that, Val. Uh, Cromwell liked a drink and music, I know. Yeah, he was a bit of a Puritan, alright. Do you think Fine Gael's anti-Sinn Féin stance goes so far? Do you think Fianna Fáil's anti-Sinn Féin stance goes too far enough? I think if push comes to shove, they'll probably say, look, we want power, and they'll form a coalition with Sinn Féin. And I think if they feel that they can manipulate Sinn Féin or they can get them to do what they want, I think they will go into coalition. But if they feel that they can't twist Sinn Féin's arm, then they're not going to do it. They're not going to take the risk. But if they go back to a general election, they risk losing more seats that they have. So I think they're going to make some calculated judgments and decisions, and they'll decide, look, is there a risk we're going to lose seats? If there is, then we'll go into coalition. Is there a risk that we may not lose or we may gain seats? I don't see that happening, but they may try to do that, and I think they'll probably go. I think at the end, if I was to put money on it, I'd say they'll form a coalition of some sort. A good thing you do not feel the need to get the Italian citizenship as an Irish, and so European. You do not need an Italian passport to live in Italy and be welcome. Yes, I agree, Giorgio. But if for voting, if I want to vote in the elections here, I need to have a passport or citizenship at least. You've Been Trumped would have you foaming at the mouth for an hour and a half. Everything you need to know about Trump was there. God. Can you explain the current Salvini saga, please? He's been brought to trial or something. Yeah, so last year he was the Minister for the Interior, and he's been brought to trial regarding the arrest of a woman who was the captain of a ship that rescued people in the Mediterranean Sea. And the Italian government are, considering putting him in jail over this. What happened was he was still the minister when the parties switched, and what happened was his coalition partner joined up with another party, and he was removed from power. And this person was still sitting in prison, who was this German lady, and I think they want to try him for this, for kidnapping. It's basically kidnapping. Now, politically, I don't know if it's a good idea, because it under the law it's probably the right thing to do, but politically it may give him more support. He'll play the victim, and there's a likelihood that if there's a general election coming soon, because there is some friction between the two coalition partners at the moment, which is the Five Star Movement and the Democratic Party, centre-left party. They're not getting on very well, and there are problems within the Five Star Movement where there are people who are not really pulling their weight. There are politicians who have been involved in some alleged corruption, and the image of the party is more the movement. It's because it's not a party, but its image has been tarnished recently, and the enthusiasm behind it has sort of fallen away. And it's looking likely that Salvini could become the next prime minister, and he is a Trump-like figure. I don't believe he believes the things he says. He wraps himself in the flag. He wraps himself with the crucifix, with the rosary beads. He pretends to be a religious person, some family man, things like this, and then he uses social media very well to boost his image. He's everywhere he goes, he's always wandering around somewhere, and he's getting selfies with his supporters, and he's posting it on Twitter, and he's responding to people on Twitter, and having fights with people on Twitter, and attempting to come off as the winner. Unfortunately, I think this is working very well for him, and it will boost his election chances. So we'll see. But in Italy, the situation is not good. Berlusconi was quite bad, but Salvini is worse. To bring Salvini to court, they need an approval from Parliament. Approval by Parliament, yes. And many people in Parliament is it a good idea to do this? Because if you don't do it, then he comes off as the winner. If you do it, he comes off as a victim. And then maybe if he doesn't get tried, if he doesn't get put in prison, then he'll come off as the winner. So, you're sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't. Trump riles up people with his lies. He does. Try some research. New York, the state is going after Trump's tax fraud and business irregularities after he leaves office. No pardon for him if he succeeds as the state crime not fed. I think he's like, I must not leave office. I must stay in office forever. What do you think? My mother and father, my mother and father live in the UK, and they're getting old. I feel so torn. I live in France, and I want them to move there, but they don't want to, and I need to look after them. Is it possible to get a carer to look after them? I know that's expensive, but you could maybe get them to come out and visit you on holiday. I don't know if they're able to do that if they're in a bad situation, like if health-wise or whatever. But get them to come out and visit you and show them how good it is there, and tell them, a lot of people, some people have considered selling their homes and buying a little apartment in France and living the good life. Could be expose them to the French food and the culture. I think they may change their mind. And you could say, look, it's easier for me to visit you if you're here than if you're in the UK. Do you think Macron will lose the next French election? Yes, he's on the way out. French presidents have an approval boost that lasts seconds, and then they crash after that. So, but I don't know who's going to come after him. I don't see one of the Le Pens or whoever's leading the Front National. They've changed their name. The original Front National now. I don't know who's running it or what the name is, but I don't see them replacing Macron. He should be meeting with the protesters and the farmers and the workers, and trying to work out a deal with them. I think he's too disconnected from the ordinary people. National Assembly. I was a carer for years, and it's a full-time job. You need to give up a lot of things people take for granted. Get them over for a holiday or two, maybe that would change their minds. Yes. Although I know as people get older, they get more, stuck in their ways, and they're less likely to be willing to move. But I hate French farmers. They protest by spraying their muck at random people. It gets their attention. Hey guys, no fighting in the chat. The Brexiteers were very adamant about how big the anti-EU movement was across the EU. Do you think that is? Was it ever? It's just propaganda. It's a way to reinforce the idea. And I said before, like when an ideology is like a cult, a cult needs people to believe. It's not good enough just you believing in the cult. You have to convince other people to believe in it as well. And Euroscepticism has been an issue for many years, decades, but not to the extent that the Brexiteers have been talking about. To give you an example of this, in Italy, the Five Star Movement and Salvini's party before Brexit were talking about, yes, we need to have a referendum, two referendums, referendums, whatever. We need to have two of them, one on leaving the euro and the other on leaving the European Union. Both of those ideas have been scaled back, have not been talked about basically since Brexit. So they thought that they could win these referendum. Then they realized, no, we're not going to win them. So let's just, quietly take them off our Facebook pages or websites or whatever, because there isn't an appetite for it. About 10 years ago, there was some appetite for leaving the euro. But at the end of, people realized the euro is not the problem. It's the people we have in charge who are the problem. Of course, some people still won't. It doesn't mean everyone is like that. But it's more the older voters, the older generation that say, oh yeah, well, before the euro, everything was better. And if we go back... but yeah, the country was poorer. I think the country is a bit richer now since the euro. Worked in a library, and yes and no, but if it can show he is trying to change the outcome, then it's against the law. You know how well EU countries can run businesses? Alitalia is a shining example of how wonderful the EU is. Strange how Lufthansa has a stranglehold of European aviation. Nicola, I'm not sure about EU. It's about related to the EU though. There are European countries. There's a difference between the EU and European countries. Berlusconi, Trump's idiot. Idol, sorry. Or idiot. Itchy back. Berlusconi was funnier than Trump. Berlusconi was more of a... Berlusconi was a bit more like Boris Johnson if Boris Johnson wasn't so evil. Wasn't so indifferent to poor people. Berlusconi had a certain charm about him. Of course, we look back at these people and then, with rose-tinted glasses, but I think if you compare him to people like Trump and Boris Johnson, Berlusconi was actually not so bad. He was just corrupt. there wasn't really an evil about him. He wasn't anti-immigrant or anything like that. He was, he just wanted more money and power for himself. Yeah, Alitalia was a typical Italian man. It wasn't related to the EU. Gotta go, my dogs. Okay, leveling 9. Hope you have a nice evening. And I also need to be heading soon because it's quite late here. I love the chat, as I've said before. I love these live streams and these chats because it's a great way to interact with you guys. Bunga bunga Berlusconi. I'll just tell you quickly a funny story. So, some years ago, my wife and I were over visiting family in Ireland, and we went for a walk. And we met this farmer who was working. He was working cutting bushes or something on the side of one of his fields, and his car was parked there, and he was going back and forth taking tools from his car, and he bunga bunga Max. So he came over and he said he saw us, and he knew something about my wife because when we visited, it's difficult to describe, but we didn't live in a village. We didn't stay in a village. We stayed in what's called a townland, which has one home every kilometre, more or less. And will the Strait of Messina Bill ever get built? No, I don't think so. It was just a way for politicians to get votes, but it'll never be built. But so we saw this farmer, and he came over and he said, "Oh, hello, how are you?" And he started chatting away with us, and he said, "Oh, you're from Germany, right?" And she said, "No, I'm from Italy." And he said, "Oh, tell me about that. Tell me about that crazy guy. What's his name? Barceloni." Not Berlusconi, Barceloni. And my wife was starting to get extremely embarrassed, and not because of what the man was saying, but because Italian, immediately Berlusconi. What's with all those young girls and the parties, the bunga bunga. And she said, I wanted a hole to appear right under me and swallow me up, so I wouldn't have to experience that. So, Giorgio, I feel your pain. No bridge to Sicily. Germany runs the EU is the conspiracy theory for the brain dead. Yes. Vinny, I actually had bought into that myself somewhat, but I realized now it's not. It serves a purpose for people. Once again, if we can't blame the EU, let's blame Germany. Germany is the problem. Our own government mismanagement. And it doesn't matter where the government is. We just blame the EU. We can't blame EU. Blame Germany. Germany's the type of country you can blame, and they won't complain about it. They have a bit of guilt. Will Reassemblement National win? Is that the new National Front Party? I have no idea. I'm not following French politics, unfortunately. Yeah, Sicily wanted to join the USA, and I think it was there was the mafia involved some way related to that. The United States wanted to land in Sicily. Now, Giorgio may know this better than I do, but the United States wanted to land in Sicily in World War II, and the mafia gave them the okay. They needed to speak to the mafia bosses in order to allow them to land. Imagine that. Glenn B, good night. Have a nice evening. Night. It's quite late now. So who does run it? Germany controls the EU. It pays the bills. Who pays the piper calls the tune. Germany has huge influence, but it doesn't control the EU. Do you worry at all that Sinn Féin in government might cause extreme anti-Irish behaviour across the UK? No, because the Sinn Féin that's in the Republic are not. It's not Gerry Adams who's in charge. If Gerry Adams was still in charge, then I think it could create some bad blood. But I don't think Boris Johnson could try something, but I don't think it will really stick. Also because the generation today, and most of the people in the UK now, I think are, younger generation, and they're not interested. They don't care about or know about really the troubles or the role of Sinn Féin or the IRA. You made some mods. You know what Lincoln said: any man can stand adversity, but if you know a man's true character, give him power. Maybe they need the English bank people to help Greece get the euro to do the books. Yes. There was a bit of cooking the books there before Greece got in. And see, this is, a criticism of the European Union. They had different rules for different. No, was it something for different folks? Okay, strokes is it for different folks? Anyway, they had different rules. They had rules, and some were allowed to bend the rules, and that wasn't a good idea. Thank you very much, Glasgow Kiss. I don't know why you guys don't have your own YouTube channels. You are very good at doing all the work. I need to outsource it to you guys. If Germany is paying for all the bills, why does Microsoft? What does that make? Sorry, does that make Microsoft a German company? Good point. What do you think the EU is forced to spend money on imperial French colonies in Southern America? This was to pay off the French. Never mind the waste. Moving the EU Parliament to Strasbourg. I think in a short time, the young will rejoin. But the majority of people are Remainers, so converting Remainers into rejoiners isn't, a huge task, I think. And once people start to see the effect Brexit has, then you'll see a lot more people joining the rejoin movement. Did you hear RBS changing its name from Royal Bank of Scotland to National Westminster Bank? Is that really true? I'm not going to respond to the one about the comment about the French, the EU paying French, because I'm not familiar with that, so I can't answer it either way. I noticed I made a good point that you couldn't refute. Why not comment on it, please? It's not directed at me, I assume. Mr. Tusk doesn't see us rejoining in his lifetime. He's 60. I don't know. See, it depends on British politics. It doesn't depend on the European Union. But he knows things. He knows more about these things than I do. So I'm not in a position to refute him. But I think it depends on British politics and Boris Johnson's party. And, Boris Johnson could be replaced with a Remainer anytime soon. Things go badly. Many people may say, look, we need to change direction. Maybe rejoining would be a good idea. It's interesting to think that the longest land border France has isn't with Italy, France, but it's with Brazil. It depends on the EU member states, to be fair. If Britain makes this a chore, I can see Ireland and France not wanting complications with coming back. With them, complication with them coming back. Some bridges have been burnt, but I still think we're looking at the future through the present, and it can be, we're looking at a situation where Boris Johnson is still in charge or something like that, and it could work out differently. I think there would be some very strong requirements of the UK if it were to rejoin, but I think it depends on the attitude. George Soros ate my hamster. I think it depends on the attitude coming from the British government at the time. So if it's in 5 years' time, you could have a Liberal Democrat government, you could have a Green government. We have no idea. It's highly unlikely, but it's not impossible. And the approach towards the EU could be completely different. Irish would support Brits rejoin. I think they would. I think it's highly unlikely they'll rejoin in the near future. Off to bed. See you soon. Thugs to all. Thank you very much, QA Library. Thanks for your moderating. Thanks for your comments and your research, of course. Have a good night. There was talk in Parliament yesterday to remove Boris. Can't remember which MP it was. It's not going to happen very soon, but he will eventually step down or be forced out. I don't see him, serving out an entire term as Prime Minister. Okay, guys, I'm going to have another 2 minutes, and then I need to skedaddle, as we say in Ireland. Nicholas, you mean the Falkland Islands? Which British territories? In the car. I watch it all the time. My husband is Scottish. In the future, the EU will want bits of the British economy to move to the EU. For example, financial services. After 5-7 years, they might want the UK to rejoin. It's interesting that Boris Johnson may ask for an extension, not to the extension, an extension to the transition period, but an extension to the financial transition period, in a sense, so that the financial districts will remain aligned with the EU, but the rest of the UK will diverge. I think it was Phil from A Different Bias who was talking about that. So that would be a way of keeping the very rich people in the City of London happy for a while at the same time keeping the Brexiteers happy. Yes, we've diverged, we're leaving. If Ireland is reunited, the former Unionists might have turned nationalist, and Sinn Féin are in power. They may threaten our status as the gateway to Europe. We'll likely say no, won't be returning to now. That's an interesting hypothesis. Would love it if they did rejoin, but I don't know. The ignorance of how they left, I can't see them turning around after all that effort. What's your view on Javid resignation? Happy accident or planned? I think it was a bit of a 50-50 of him being pushed out by Dominic Cummings, and I think part of it is him not wanting to be connected with the disaster of Brexit. So I think it was calculated in a way, but I think he probably wanted to stay on, but to have more control. But Cummins didn't want that, so he probably said, "Look, this is probably an opportunity for me to go and come back, at another time." Because I think Boris Johnson wants to surround himself with people who, when things go badly, he can just blame them. Oh, look, this minister isn't pulling their weight, or this minister isn't saying yes enough. Because he doesn't want to get blamed for anything. So he wants to surround himself with people he can blame, and then he can fire. And, you know, if they're incompetent, it's easier to fire them. If they're not politically savvy, it's easier to fire them. So he doesn't want, you know, strong, intelligent people around him. He wants idiots, basically. Ian Donald says 100% pushed out. Thanks. What time do you have there? It's 5 p.m. here, Van. Here it is 1 a.m. in the UK. I assume it's midnight. Yes, you guys are an hour behind. And if you're in Brexit, it's it's 50 years behind. Yeah, that's a joke. Okay. Even Frankfurt didn't have the office space for even a fifth of the City of London. Well, it wouldn't all go to Frankfurt. There's talk of many financial, how can we say, financial experts or banks and financial institutions moving also to Dublin, to Milan, I think also was talked about. So there were a number of different cities that they were planning to go to. And they were welcomed as well. They were given, you know, incentives to come over as well. Just let us lock up like last time when you left the stream running. Can kiss. Okay. So I think I can end the stream, but the chat should continue running as far as I know. So I'll do that. A lock in. So don't touch my whiskey, okay? You guys, you can drink from the tap, but you can't touch my whiskey. Okay, guys, it was a great to have you all online. Great to have the live stream and the chat, and thank you very much for the donations. Greatly appreciated, and I'll make a list of who donated, and I'll read out the names if you're happy with that at the next live stream probably, or I'll do a video on it. Great to have you on, and have a great night. I hope when I end the stream the chat will continue, and you guys can chat away amongst yourselves, and please do behave. Okay, good night guys, have a great one.